download. These
Hey, Sam,
two
can
are,
you throw your presentation in present mode just so it makes it a little bit
yeah,
bigger?
yeah, sorry. Thanks. There you
That's
go.
much better. Thanks.
Cool. All right, so on the mailbox integration side, you have the two free tools which will connect to your Outlook or Gmail email client. These are going to allow users to have a window into Salesforce from their inbox, and the primary focus here is it's a manual log. So any events or any emails that you want to end up in Salesforce, you got to click that checkbox in the plugin side panel, and then those will appear. The other alternative is Salesforce Inbox, which I think most admins I talk to have at least known about Salesforce Inbox, used it possibly at their companies, or if you're a consultant, recommended it before. This is the paid version for any email hosted on Microsoft 365 servers or Google Workspace servers. And again, you're going to be manually plugging in emails here, but they do offer a lot of premium products, some AI features. One they like to highlight a lot is if you're sending emails out of Salesforce, you can plug in your availability calendar within an email. And they have some other cool features, but the focus of this presentation is on the sync and stream/capture apps. So the two apps that Salesforce offers are Lightning Sync, which is just for calendar events and contacts. And I won't focus too much on that, and I'll tell you in a second why, but the other one is EAC. With Einstein, there are two versions. You get your standard version, which comes free with cost of Salesforce licenses, and then there's a paid version. The paid version is actually lumped in with a Salesforce Inbox license. So if you buy Inbox, you'll have the paid version of EAC as well. With EAC, it's the automatic sync. You don't have to manually log it. Events that you've created in your Outlook or Gmail calendars will be synced to Salesforce, and the same goes for emails that relate to records in Salesforce. All right, why not focus on Lightning Sync? Well, Salesforce is phasing Lightning Sync out completely. So starting in winter 21, it won't be available for any new Salesforce customers. This is part of Salesforce's push to EAC completely. As well, my understanding is much better with the automated sync apps, as that's what I've focused on as Match My Email's competitor of Einstein Activity Capture. And so in the gist, it's going to be an EAC focused presentation here. All right, the technical. So again, I don't profess to know every in and out of this architecture, but a nice graph here can help explain a little bit of it. When you have emails that are hitting Gmail, Office, or an Exchange server, EAC is going to process those on their servers on AWS, and then store that data on separate databases or an S3 server with AWS. And they're going to create links to your Salesforce server where the rest of your data is hosted. So your email data is not actually going to be stored on the same server with your records and all the data that pertains to those. For a whole slew of reasons, this can cause some issues, which I dive into in a bit. But other things worth noting here are with the traditional or with the free licenses of Einstein, you're only going to have that email data stored on those separate AWS servers for 6 months. If you're paying for a subscription, that Inbox/EAC license subscription, Salesforce expands that up to 2 years. One important thing to point out here will be that reporting is restricted within your Salesforce org because the data is not actually stored on the same server as rest of your other data that you can report on. Which gets us to the reporting. If you do pay for an Einstein license, you get something called Einstein Activity Metrics. This is really a separate reporting tool that Salesforce offers, separate from what I'm used to within your native Salesforce org. And it's restricted to just really 3 filters. You can filter by activity owner, by activity type, and activity date. So you're stuck with the reports that Einstein Activity Metrics has generated for you. You can slightly alter those But basically, you're going to be looking at user activity breakdown, activities by account, or activity by opportunity. And you can just filter those based off of users, event types, or dates. But anything outside of that that you might want to filter by is restricted. So what comes to mind would be if you wanted to know how many emails you've sent or received, you can't go that granular. It's only emails in general. You can only say this number of email records or email message objects hit this record. It won't tell you whether those emails were sent or received. Another thing that they won't point out on this report is if you wanted to say how much activity has happened by geographic location. I'm in New York, so tri-state area, how many of our accounts in the tri-state area, how much activity has been happening there. You can't filter by that geolocation like you would expect to be able to do in the Salesforce report. Big knock here is, so the data is stored for 6 months with the free subscriptions of EAC. The data is stored for 2 months with the longer, but the reporting can only look back 90 days for the unpaid EAC licenses and 180 days for the paid licenses. So even though the data may be in your Salesforce server for 2 years, your reports can only go back 180 days. I kind of will get into this, but with Einstein, if you ever leave Einstein, or if you work at a company where you have some churn, if somebody leaves the company and you replace their Salesforce license or get rid of it, the data that they brought in is automatically deleted from your Salesforce server, and that data disappears. And there's really no way to get it in. With Match My Email, we do have a product called Legacy Importing, which looks back in time and uploads emails to your Salesforce server permanently from as far back as you want to go. All right, user interface. With Einstein, I assume most people are familiar with how it looks in Lightning. I won't go into the classic look. I assume some people probably are still using classic. It shouldn't be a, you know, we shouldn't shame anybody for still using classic. I think a lot of so half of the people at my company still use classic, to be honest. They're just, that's what they got used to and they still love it. But this will focus on Einstein. And when you're using Einstein Activity Capture, or sorry, Lightning, and when you're using Einstein Activity Capture, they focus on Lightning as well. So they've created this enhanced email, which creates an email message object that relates to a duplicative task that's created. So on records, the task isn't visible, but this email message object is, and you'll see it on the activity timeline, and it looks something like this, which I assume people would be familiar with. Nice thing is you do get to use the Salesforce Email Composer directly out of this as well. Some drawbacks: attachments are not accessible. So if you have any attachments to emails, Einstein is not going to pull those in for you. Real drawback is you can only match these enhanced emails to one what ID record. So that's one account, one opportunity, one case. If you're using custom objects, that will also present some challenges. And then another drawback is it's not compatible yet with iOS or Android. Setting up Match My Email versus Einstein, and this will kind of start to transition into some more MME knowledge. But with EAC, there's a few different ways you can approach it. The most common way is on the user level. So each end user goes through this authentication wizard. It's pretty well documented. It's not a real challenge to get up and running, but if you're an enterprise company, it can be a bit of a hassle. Some people, I've definitely spoken to some customers that say it's not tenable to have each one of my users go through the Einstein wizard. For some reason, our support team gets calls about it all the time, but I've heard mixed reviews on that. So the other way is really just for 365 hosted emails. They have this org level or a service account. I don't know too much about it. I know that they use OAuth 2.0 to authenticate, which I'm familiar with from the Match My Email side. With Match My Email, we also have a user level and an org level way to authenticate. On the user level, it's it's us integrating through an IMAP port in an email server. And with the org level, depending on whether you're hosted on 365 or Google Workspace, we're connecting through either of the APIs for those two systems. All right, now a little bit of match my email, how we stack up, what's different from Einstein with our application. So a picture here, but I'll dive into the org and I'll kind of jump back and forth between the two to show everybody. We have a control panel on our backend, which allows admins to remotely activate, deactivate users that are Match My Email licensed users here. When you download our managed package into Salesforce, you'll get a list of all of your active Salesforce licensed users. And after you've created the integration with either Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace, we automatically smart match that email address to the user, and it's as simple as just toggling this import on activation toggle. And if you go into that import, you can actually see a little bit more information about them. If you want, you can create a calendar import for that user too. And when you click into the user here, out of the box, we're going to integrate with the inbox and sent items folders just to make sure we're processing all inbound and outbound emails there. From the control panel, you get the list of ignore rules, which I won't dive into too much. I know Einstein has the ability to set some ignores. The granularity of their ignore rules, I'm not all that familiar with. I would assume it's similar to how Match My Email works, where we have, you can either set it by specific address or a whole domain. There's different types of ignores. So if you wanted to say just only when we're processing an individual address, look at that, or make that universal to the rest of the email. And then one thing that I know we do on a privacy level, Einstein doesn't, is something called confidential tags, which we will not process an email and not upload it to Salesforce if we find a specific tag in the subject or the body of an email. So another level of filtration. That's a big question we get since everything is automated. People get somewhat intimidated by the automation, nervous that things will end up in Salesforce that aren't supposed to. Bottom line is, anything personal, there's no record in Salesforce created, or there should not be. So those emails, while processed, are not matched to any Salesforce record. There's no attribute in the email that would match to a record in Salesforce, so it's not uploaded. But then we have this ignore rules and these confidential tags as a second tertiary layer of security. All right, let me jump back, try to keep on point here. With Match My Email, we can also upload as this enhanced email object, just as Salesforce would do. The difference being with Einstein, you're getting the virtual link that's linked back to the AWS server where the email data is stored. With Match My Email, we still upload as an enhanced email, but that data is actually stored on the same server as the rest of your Salesforce data. It's there permanently unless you decide to delete it. So after 6 months or after 2 years, you can expect those emails to stick around. We also offer a custom object, which in this case, we break emails out onto a separate timeline in Salesforce. The reason we created this, it goes back to the classic days where the user interface for the email or the activity history timeline wasn't all that great. We transitioned it to Lightning, and from here you get a few extra features that aren't all that helpful with uploading to the activity timeline with enhanced email. You can match to multiple WhatID records here. So we create virtual object links to any number of records. So no restrictions on what you can match to. You also have a little bit of a different user interface, which some people find preferable. If you hover over the subject, you get the body of the email, and the attachment you can see is pretty easily accessible here. And then below the subject, you'll see a list of the different objects that this email has matched to. If you click on the object, you'll get a banner that appears where you can unmatch it from specific objects or delete the email if you have the right permissions in Salesforce. Okay, moving on here. So some reporting that you can do in Salesforce. I think this is where most admins on this call would have their own imaginations as to what kind of reports you can build out when you have the email data accessible with the rest of your Salesforce data. We do have a reporting package, but some similar, some common reports would be if you're getting audited and you're a finance firm, you can create a list of all of the emails that have been sent or received for an account over a specific period of time, and then import those to Excel, and it makes, you can give that to an auditor within 5 minutes. Makes it easy. We do also have a last interaction report that would be similar you'd expect with Einstein. If you wanted to see which accounts are hot, cold, that's a pretty good report to go to. I kind of explained like a by geographic region, but whatever your imagination cooks up with the email data and the event data actually stored in Salesforce, you'd be able to make the report. All right, another difference with Einstein, everything is happening in the background. So emails and events are getting synced to objects in Salesforce automatically, and there's really no way to know whether something's synced or not. There's not going to be some notification in Salesforce or in your email client. In Salesforce, you'll just see the enhanced email message object on a records activity timeline, but there's no place you can go for confirmation. With Match My Email, we have a dashboard available to end users where each end user can see all of the emails or calendar events that we've synced or processed and not synced. So if we do process all those events and all those emails, but not all those emails or events relate to something in Salesforce. So we give this no match status, and you can go into our dashboard here and figure out, all right, what is matched, what hasn't over the past X number of days. And you can filter this list too based off of those statuses. So if you wanted to just see which emails or events haven't matched to make sure nothing slipped through the cracks, you can quickly do that here. For any reason, if something we've processed doesn't match, maybe it's a new lead that you haven't created a record for in Salesforce, we'll retroactively match that once the record has been created, as long as it's given within a 45-day time window. And you can actually create new records directly from this dashboard here. So if you hover over the no match status, click plus match, you can pull the email up side by side and populate a new record and create that on our dashboard here. Some customization that goes along with this. I try to dig in with EAC to see what's out there. What I found was something slipped into a Salesforce presentation I attended that says custom object support is available with Salesforce Inbox, which we also consider that EAC licensed version for $25 a month per user, or $50 per month per user as part of the Sales Cloud Einstein. With Match My Email, if you're savvy with writing code or writing Apex code, creating triggers, because our object is open, you can do that around the email message object we upload or our custom email message object. So really, you can get as creative as you'd like with how you want to use the email data once it's been uploaded to your Salesforce server. One way that we do it is we have an auto create for contacts or leads based off of the domain. Really, in this case, more contacts. And so I try to be as unbiased and fair to each side. Again, I work for Match My Email. I know much more about our application than Salesforce Einstein Activity Capture at the end of the day, but I still have had to learn quite a bit about EAC. So hope I came in under the time limit. Let me check. But if anybody has questions or comments, I'd love to host that and try to be as helpful as possible.
Sure. Thanks, Sam. Sorry. Thanks. That was great. Good job on that. For those of you that are wondering, we did record it, and I'll ask Sam to send his presentation over. and I'll get that posted up on our Detroit user group site. So if you've joined late or missed a couple things, some of the important information, how to get a hold of Sam after this, that'll be on the last page of his slide. So those of you that want to, do those one-off questions with him, again, I'll post this on the site and have that available.
Well done,
I,
Sam. Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate your
Yeah.
time and appreciate the balance of the presentation. And thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
we've been kind of monitoring the chat window. I don't see any additional questions. Anybody have any additional questions? Some of you I know are have been muted. Anybody have any questions that they want from Sam before we let him go?
Well, I guess I might throw one out there, Sam. You said that they're retiring the Lightning functionality, and that's the custom or the customary, I guess, methodology of the Lightning connector to Outlook in order to synchronize emails and things such as that you're referring to, correct?
Well, I know that they've already phased out an old product called, I think it was Salesforce for Outlook.
Yes, sir.
That was specific, and that was one of those plug-in products where you get the side panel. What I was talking about is this Lightning Sync, which only
Oh, okay.
focused on calendar events and then syncing contacts, I guess, in Outlook or Gmail to Salesforce.
Understood.
Yeah,
Well,
so
certainly
that
this
doesn't even do email.
this can be a challenge. And just a sidebar, quick note to all of our attendees, right? This is some of what we and Sam, you've been very forthright and very candid about the challenge that we've put forth, right? We want to hear about you, and I put an email internally to ours. Guys, we want to hear from you. You know, we're of course we love to have peers that'll present on successes and challenges or both that they've gone through, but also we want to invite different vendors that you've engaged with, that maybe you found a niche product or something that they offer that has been, monumentally impactful and helpful within your organization. But when we approach these vendors, and Sam, I say this absolutely respectfully, but these guys, of course, have their pitch perfected, right? They know how to get up on a stage and present their product and what their product does. But we kind of in the spirit of the user group, we challenge these vendors to come in and tell them that, hey, we want to educate our user community. We want to give them information about a challenge or a situation that they may or may not be aware of right now. They may not have grown or may not have or tried to implement that technology or aren't aware of those pitfalls. So we want our presentations not to become infomercials for a bunch of vendors, right? And we've all been there. We've been to, well, even Dreamforce occasionally. You go into an hour session and you find out that, this is just shameless self-promotion of their product, and now it's too late to get into another session. That's what we want to make sure and avoid, and then we challenge these vendors to come in and make sure that they're generally educating us on the situation and the matter that may be of concern to us. And I'd like to take that to kind of explain that a bit as what Sam was referring to and kind of referencing, as well as invite everyone to please step up and let us know if you've got a really meaningful, impactful vendor that you do work with that has helped you, whether I'm talking to a few right now on the modeling side, right? How to develop functional strawmans and functional frameworks of Salesforce solutions without actually building it, right? It has a really short way to do that. So I want to bring some people in because that's what we're struggling with, right? Is mostly the innovation and brainstorming and leading that sort of stuff, because everything's so virtual now. Having visuals is vital because I can't draw on a whiteboard anymore in front of them, right? But we'd invite everybody to bring those in. But Sam, again, thank you. Thank you for helping us kind of understand the situation and some of the challenges that are there, the solutions that are there now, and the unique challenges that they present and those that are going away. But yeah, well done. We appreciate you.
Yep.
Yeah, hope
Yeah.
to see everybody at a Dreamforce or something in the future. It'll be fun.
Yep.
There you go.
And again, Sam, thanks very much. I appreciate it. If you could, just as a side note, send me a link to this. I know that you made some changes to it for our request.
Yep.
So I want to make sure I get the right deck posted. So in the next day or so, if you could shoot me that link over or the deck over, that way I can get it posted for our community. So
Will do, Steve.
perfect. Sounds good. Thanks again, Sam. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
I don't see any additional questions. So that brings up Amber. Amber from Salesforce, Amber Chanowski. I want to thank her very much for being a fill-in today. Not necessarily a fill-in, but I thought I had sent a message to her a little earlier and realized I hadn't sent. So she got her message a little late, and in the grand scheme of things, we may not have been uh, had all the details that we needed, right? Amber, I appreciate you putting some documentation for us together. The sales or the release in a box is not necessarily GA yet, so we're going to get some behind the scenes information here from Amber. And again, I appreciate you stepping in today to help us out with that.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me back. It's been really fun to get plugged in to the user group here and know some more folks locally who are working in the Salesforce environment. Yeah, so if anybody's been to the last few sessions, you may have seen me pop up and co-host the release review with Dina. The timing worked out before that. We did have access to that release in a box deck where we could kind of pull out slides per feature and give a little bit more information. So this one's going to be a little bit higher level, a little bit more casual. But let's do that. We'll focus on some milestones, and I picked out a couple of things we can chat about. As always, kind of the standard little disclaimer not to make any purchasing decisions based on things that aren't already available. A little bit about me. So I have been kind of co-hosting these the last couple of times with Dina. I'm in Royal Oak, Michigan. I started about 6 years ago my journey with Salesforce actually as a contractor, first working for HP. And I made the transition to directly work for Salesforce about 3 years ago. I am an analyst in the data strategy and operations space. I focus on data quality and governance within our own Salesforce sales org. I'm not an admin, but I did get my admin certification this year. I'm trying to keep up with all the brilliance in that admin space. I think it's critical to kind of have those business conversations too. Very passionate about Trailhead. I'm a Trailhead guide for Salesforce. I reached my double ranger status earlier this year too.
Hey,
So,
Amber, just real quick, for those of
yeah.
us that are not aware, what the heck is a double ranger? You know, you have a single ranger, but you have patches on both arms then?
Yeah, no, they just kind of keep counting. So I think Ranger is 200 badges and 50,000 points, or 150,000, and then it's basically double. It's 200 badges and 100,000 points, and they actually go up to there's triple, quadruple, and then I think they stop. Then the next one is just All-Star Ranger. The Salesforce internal, man, it's competitive.
So how the heck do you have time to work at Salesforce if you're a double ranger? You got to spend a lot of time on
I don't is the short
trail.
answer. No. I love Trailhead. It's super fun. And I find myself in my particular role engaging super cross-functionally. I'm working with our BT org, I'm working with our marketing folks or sales folks, and I'm always hearing about processes and content and skills that I don't necessarily have, and Trailhead's a great place to go get those. So I'll often go kind of look things up there. And then honestly, I downloaded the Trailhead Go mobile app, and I've got toddlers, so I'm oftentimes awake in the middle of the night when I don't want to be, and I'll pop in and do a couple trails when I'm making sure waiting for them to fall asleep. And yeah, if you don't have the app, I recommend grabbing it.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for asking. Okay, so I think what we'll focus on today, I'm not sure, who's how far invested in kind of keeping up with the release structure. So you may or may not have already seen this visual, but back in mid-April, there was the opportunity to sign up for the pre-release org. And where we're at now in the scheme is the release notes are out, which are very, very text-based, but it is someplace that you can kind of self-drive your release review, and you can kind of double click into things and see really kind of the nitty-gritty about some of these features that are coming out. Next week comes out more of the fun, user-friendly kind of resources. The release site will be up, where you can kind of click through the web page and look at features that are coming out by product, and there'll also be links to some of these other resources. There'll be a release module on Trailhead, which will have a release trail on Trailhead that will have modules by product. That's probably my favorite way. I kind of love, they'll oftentimes include a demo video or a link to some other materials. And a little quiz at the end is a great way to earn points and also kind of check that all that text you read just made sense. And then that's that deck that Dean and I brought before, that release in a box deck that they call it. They have a PDF, the slides, and a PowerPoint version of that. That'll be out on the 11th. And what's cool about that deck when you have access to it is it's also sorted by product area the same way that the site and the trailhead are, but on each slide, they also put a little marker that indicates if that particular feature, the audience is a business user, an admin, or a developer. It kind of helps you hone in on the things that might be interesting to you. So I do also really like that deck when it's available. And then after all the good stuff comes out and you get a chance to kind of come through and learn about it, the release weekends will start in the second half of May. And please, I encourage you to keep this conversation going in kind of looking for some things to bring to talk about today. I was working through the community groups. There is a release readiness Trailblazer community group you can join. And of course, the local community groups, your Detroit user group, there should be some resources, and it's a great place to start conversations about anything related to the release or new features. All right. So one of the other, I guess, I don't know how official or if I'm allowed to even, endorse it, but the Salesforce Bend site, Steve forwarded me an article where someone from the Salesforce Bend site put together like their top 10 favorite features from the release. And I found that to be a really great way. Someone had taken that text, the details of the feature, and turned it into something that was really easy to understand. And they even included some screen grabs and things. So if you're looking for information before some of those other things are out, I would check that out. So I pulled out a couple of things just to kind of give some excitement and give you things to look forward to or to go find in those materials when you can. One of them is lightning record access reasons. And this one really resonated for me. So again, I'm not an admin, but working in data governance, I am always kind of wondering who has access to this, who's manipulating this data, why do they have access to it? Now you can actually see in the Lightning experience a record sharing hierarchy, and you can find out exactly which settings are allowing this person to have access to the record in question. So I thought that was going to be really neat, and I'm excited to check that out. Another fun one is dashboards now being downloadable as images instead of having to screen grab things from your dashboards. You can now download that as a PNG file and embed it in documents, presentations, or anywhere else. So that's kind of making life a little bit easier, a few less clicks. Also available is inline report editing. So now Salesforce is bringing the power of inline editing right to reports. So if a record's out of date, you can update certain fields, text, numeric, or checkbox, all without ever leaving that report view. So if you've got a sales rep looking at an opportunity report, they can update the probability field right from the report, and it'll automatically refresh it. So that's kind of neat. Also, there's always updates to the Salesforce flows. Some of the notable things coming out now are that you can build multi-column screens in Flow Builder. You can also set a default value for any screen component that gives you choices. You can place fields from Salesforce objects directly on Flow screens. And I think I see commonly over these last few releases, they're always looking at troubleshooting and how to improve that in the Flow space. And there are going to be features that are going to help you find your failed flows a little bit faster and debug a little bit easier. So those are some things to keep an eye out if that's of interest to you. And I also learned about split views, which apparently is a very popular way to work. And there were some issues with having to switch back and forth to your list view to perform mass actions, but now you'll be able to actually perform mass actions right in a split view. So these are just a few that I found kind of digging through some more informal conversations that are happening. But I hope that they make you excited. I hope they make you want to go chase down some of these other resources next week and keep chatting with each other in the user group. And that's everything I brought today.
Thank you, Amber.
Fantastic.
So the May 7th is kind of that next big marker for us, that release in a box, some of the what I consider more user-friendly, right, options to be able to see what's in the release versus going through. Amber, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Any chance you know how many pages are in the release deck this time around?
I do not,
think
but
so.
if it's anything like previous cycles, there's like what? There's over 100, I think, slides in those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and in the release
Yeah.
notes, it's usually over 500. So
Pages, yeah.
we'll start taking bets on where it is.
Maybe we can maybe run an over under on the Detroit user group to
There you
see
go.
what our over under on those notes pages are going to be. So, but May
Certainly.
7th, the site release site, the sandbox preview starts. Those release modules that gives us a good idea as admins. Good way to go in and kind of start, excuse me, taking a look at those and being able to kind of get a better handle on what's coming down the pike. So
Absolutely. And note to those admins that, maybe have gotten caught in the schedule, of course, to make sure that all your sandboxes and lowers are right and which ones are refreshed and not, and which ones are going to auto update and not, because that API is going to update. You don't want to get it pinched in compatibility challenges moving up your stack. That can happen. But hoorah, we're excited for it. My lady, thank you so much.
Yeah. Happy to come and connect with everyone. I'm so looking forward. I wish I would have met you guys before the pandemic, but I'm looking forward to in-person events one day and getting a chance to connect.
Absolutely.
absolutely, yeah. With you being local here in Royal Oak, that it makes life a lot easier, right? To attend some of these meetings once we get going. That brings up a good question. Some of you may be wondering, we as the leaders of the group have not heard anything from Salesforce yet as to when we will be allowed to go back into in-person meetings. So those of you that have questions, we don't have any more answers as of yet. I think this morning our governor was supposed to do some announcements as to what's going to happen here. I know for my company, we're still kind of up in the air as to when we're going to be returning in person as well. So some of that was going to depend on what the governor had to say today as well. But we'll keep you informed, and we as a committee are looking forward to seeing all of you back in person, face to face, and being in a group and being able to interact and maybe potentially having some adult beverages together after the event and sharing some snacks and stories about how we've all managed to make it through the COVID experience. So
One topic I did want to bring up today, if I can, is all about the certification days. So I've seen a lot of questions being asked from different people, a lot of my customers across the country asking when the certification day schedule will be refreshed. And I wanted to let all of you in the Detroit user group know that the schedule has been refreshed. And if you go out to, I think it's trailhead.salesforce.com and go into the certification area and then search for the, what do we call these? Certification days. I just said it and I just forgot. For the admin ones, there's new ones that just hit the schedule, and these are first come, first serve. They're all free, and it's a one-day webinar to fully prepare you to sit through the certification exam for the certified admin certification. So, and I think you still get a voucher for a discount to take the exam. It's normally $200. I think the voucher is for around $50 off. Sometimes we raise it to $75 or even $100 off for that. So right now, the dates that are currently available and they're posted on the website, and again, they do max out and you must register for these, are June 1st from 9 to 2 Central, June 3rd from 9 to 2 Eastern, and there's
the
a
other ones are British.
there's one Pacific.
Right.
There's a PST time on June 1st from 9 to 2 Pacific time. So be sure to check that site. There's also certification preps for the other certs, including Marketing Cloud, Developer, and things like that. But I know, Steve, you've taken the certification prep, the 1 day free event. How was that for you? And I know you passed the exam too.
Yeah, it definitely is worthwhile taking a little bit of time out of your day to spend with them. A couple notes: they do not send you any type of documentation, so be prepared to take notes, grab screen captures, whatever you need to go back and look at that at a later time. But those of you that are thinking about taking that exam or preparing for it, these are definitely worth it, right? Even as a certified admin, I still like to go back to some of these classes, because if your certification happened a year or two ago, yes, we have those, we'll call them the trailheads now that do the recertification, but it's a good refresher, right? To get in there and learn about maybe some of the items that have changed, the areas that have changed a little bit. So I still like to take them even though the certification is completed. So but those of you that are looking to study, it is a great resource. Sign up quick, because they do fill up, they do fill, and once they're full, they're no longer available. So, and my understanding is that these were just released, because I was looking last week for some folks at our company to get access for them, and they didn't have these available. So,
And they even put some new ones out. I'm looking now for the advanced administrator and the consulting certification, and even platform app builder. So they put out a whole bunch of new ones, and there's not that many. Again, these are the first few days of June, but go out there and sign up. We'll put the post out as soon as we close down this event. We'll be sure to put the link to where to find this. But again, if you wanted to jump out there right now, just jump out to trailhead.salesforce.com and click on the certification link, and you'll follow you'll see a link for the certification days in that information. And again, this is a great tool to prep for those certifications, but also Trailhead. There are certified administrator trailhead trails already put together for everything that the exam goes through to help you prepare for that. So in my recommendation, and I know Steve did this, is to go through those trailhead trails as you're getting, especially since we're at the end of April now, so you have all of May to finish the certified admin trailheads. And that way, when you go into the certification prep, you have a great base of understanding as to the content that will be covered. And that prep class really focuses not only on the content that will be in the exam, but also gives you a glimpse and an idea of how the questions are phrased, how to read them, how to go through them properly, some strategies along that. So putting those two things together, both the trailhead trails as well as the certification prep, is definitely a recipe for success in going in and sitting through your certification exams.
yep. Amber, thanks very much. Those of you that had the chat window up, Amber was so gracious to put that link in there for you. So if you click that, it'll take you right to this page and be able to get yourself signed up. So thank you, Amber. Appreciate that. Good. Anybody else? Anybody have any open topics, open forum topics? As per our normal closing, folks, if you have something that you want to learn about, please, please, please let us know. Again, we try and come up with ideas and topics that we think will help you out, but we have no idea what you're thinking. So if you have comments, questions, things that you want to learn about, things that maybe your organization is thinking about going through, please let us know, and we'll do everything we can to find a resource to try and help you out and have them present just like Sam did today. So again, if you have questions, comments, please let us know what you're looking for, and we'll be glad to do the groundwork, the footwork to hunt down those folks and get you some answers to those questions. So, and if you want to present, please let us know. That is one of the things that's a little bit more challenging for us as leaders, is trying to find folks that want to take 10 or 15 minutes out of their day to talk about what they're doing and how they're being successful and some of the things that they have found and maybe some of their implementations. So we're all looking for those sharing ideas. So Charlie, any closing remarks from you?
More of just kind of echoing the same. I'll throw out a little topic out there that our organization is working through right now. We've struggled for years. We run all of our support centers through Salesforce Support Center. We have stood up email to case, right, to where emails coming into group inboxes now auto-generate cases. And our challenge is that anybody who's doing that, if you reply to a case, right, inside of the case platform, if you just hit reply to respond back to the customer, it uses a different email template than if you reply to the customer from their contact record. There's actually two different templates. And in order for us to be able to leverage and we have Outlook on-prem right now. We do have one Outlook 365 server that a sister company has that we're utilizing for this execution, that we're trying to execute. But our challenge is being able to apply our company's DLP, so our data loss prevention measures through IT security, through Salesforce email outbound. So it's not about syncing, much of our conversation today was a lot about emails and email synchronization and things between calendars and Outlook. So it's not about bringing my Outlook emails into Salesforce. It's about being able to execute my Salesforce emails and send them through DLP protection, which is currently integrated with all of our Outlook, right, on the outbound side. So that's a big nut that we're trying to figure out how to crack. And if anybody else has got some experience or done some diving into that, I'd love to hear from you. I'd welcome hearing from you. That's what this is about, right? Is collaboration and space. Many minds make for light coding. So we would love to hear from you. But hell yeah, bring those topics up. Bring your challenges to this. This isn't just a space to come talk about our greatest successes. It's also to come talk about the things that we're banging our heads on the pavement trying to figure out every day. So thanks, y'all.
Yep. And Sean, if you'd like to pull yourself off mute, we do have one of the participants from today's group has so graciously accepted to or agreed to talk to us on our next meeting a little bit about manufacturing cloud. Sean, are you there?
I am. For some reason, video won't work, but I am working on my new Salesforce machine, which I'll give a quick intro. So my name's Sean LeFevre. Prior to a couple of months ago, I worked at Acumen Solutions, which was a Salesforce global SI partner for the last 5 years. But if you have seen any of the news, though it was announced the same day as the Slack acquisition a few months ago, we were also acquired, Acumen that being, on that same day, and it all finalized February 1st this year. So I'm literally just on my new Salesforce machine, and a lot of security things aren't working with WebEx and things like that. But anyways, I just wanted to introduce myself. So as part of that, and what Steve and I and Dina were talking about a couple of weeks ago is we've had a significant presence in manufacturing, both in the automotive and auto suppliers, knowing that's a heavy footprint here in the Detroit area, but just manufacturing in general. And so now that I have the privilege and honor to be on the inside, working within the four walls of Salesforce now, I thought it would be great to highlight just from an industry piece, this, coming from the past partner piece, this isn't, a dog and pony show or a sales pitch or anything by that means, but more education and highlight some of the things or trends that are happening in the manufacturing space. And I know there are some in this audience that fit within that arena. So would love to highlight what are some of the trends happening in manufacturing. Salesforce had launched Manufacturing Cloud about a year and a half ago, and are working on relaunching that. There's been new things like rebates that have been coming out as part of that and the functionality. So anyway, so I would love to highlight and talk about some of that, the trends and some of the features and things in the one of the next, or actually the next user group meeting. My responsibilities is I lead our industries for manufacturing and auto. I also have retail and consumer goods underneath that. So happy to speak to any of those, but thought given heavy emphasis on manufacturing here in Detroit, and with all of the buzz around manufacturing and manufacturing cloud, it would be a great topic for that. So, so thanks, Steve. If there's any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll kind of tee that up as a topic for next time.
Perfect. Yeah, Sean, thanks. I appreciate you stepping up and offering to talk on that topic for us.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, anything else? Kill the recording.
Okay. Great. Well, thanks everybody. I appreciate everybody's time today.